in Stella staying with him, that's kind of the tragic part, because Blanche is now, like, insane, and she's in a mental hospital with these doctors, and the only reason she's there is because she tried to save her sister from being with a man that she shouldn't be with, like, morally.
Personally, I think that she went into the household. She wanted to be a hero for Stella, but and then the power struggle came in between Blanche and Stanley, and she ultimately became a victim of it as a result.
I just wanted to add something. For me, I personally thought that her motive for going into Stella was a moment of desperation, but she's also looking for acceptance. And she doesn't really know how to obtain that, so she sort of puts up like a facade in order to attract people, but that only causes further distancing from them in the end, which is why she has such bad qualities. It's not really due to her intentionally being like that, or like intentionally wanting to hurt them, but it just sort of becomes a product of it.
That kind of connects to deliberate cruelty and how she said something about that, but go on.
It was like the quote where she says, like, I never lied deliberately, I never lied to hurt anybody, I didn't lie in my heart. And to Mitch, because he's like, you lied to me, I didn't like that, but like, she just doesn't feel like herself, like, her true self is adequate enough to attract men or to not make men have sex with other men, because she feels like she's kind of like impulsive in that way.
So then what's the significance with her not looking back at Stella? Like, do you think she's just done with her, like as a hero, and like Stella being her aim to like save or something? Like, why doesn't she look back at her? Like, did she just accept her fate?
I think that's the moment she realized, like, nobody who I had previously thought cared about me actually does. Because, like, even though Stella may be acting to help her, in her mind she might be thinking, like, wow, she turned her back on me, why would I ever trust her again?
Do you kind of know what I mean, like, sorry, when, like, a mom, like, is like, emotionally, like, dead or something, but, like, they continue living because they know that, like, their kid needs them or something?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's almost like Blanche is in that situation with Stella, and at the end when she's going to the hospital, like, she doesn't have to worry about Stella anymore because the hero in her is dead now too, like, after she's raped. Like, she physically doesn't have it in her to care about Stella, like, not to care about her, but to have to worry about her and trying to get her out of there anymore because it's not in her anymore.
And just one more thing that I was going to bring up was, I don't really know if this makes sense, but I guess Blanche could be seen as a hero, sort of, in a sense, at the end when she doesn't look back to Stella, because at first she's resisting, and she's like, let me go, like, I don't want to leave, where are they taking me? And then she, like, finally, like, lets that go, so I think she's, like, saving herself from the situation and, like, leaving us all behind, like, it's not worth it, it's just destroying her.
And Stella.
So I guess that would make her a hero.
Alright, so I'm gonna steer you guys back for a minute. There's a couple of things I want to focus on before we switch to the other group, which is to look at Dean and look at Stella. One, I want to go over this idea of a tragic hero, because I feel like you guys were even saying, like, you're kind of struggling with that a little bit, how it fit, where it might fit, so let's just chat about that. But I do want to have you look at something in particular. If you go to page
After about page 70,
okay. So let me go, I'll tell you, it's the very beginning, the first page of scene 10. Does that help?
Yeah.
I want you to look at the stage notes at the very beginning before Blanche first speaks, because I think that clothing is really important in the play and really helps to establish a lot of the conflict and the shifts.
I said that in one of my things, how like her thing was soiled, or the
Yeah,
sad dress.
and that's
was
something she
soiled.
worried so much about, right? Okay, so it was something she worried so much about. So it says, it's a few hours later that night. This is the rape scene, right? So this is what we were focused on. Blanche has been drinking fairly steadily since Mitch left. So again, she's escaping into alcohol, right? She has dragged her wardrobe trunk into the center of the bedroom. It hangs open with flowery dresses thrown across it. As the drinking and packing went on, a mood of hysterical exhilaration came into her, and and she has decked herself out in a somewhat soiled and crumpled white satin evening gown and a pair of scuffed silver slippers with brilliant set in their heels. She is now placing the rhinestone tiara on her head before the mirror of the dressing table and murmuring excitedly as if to a group of spectral admirers. What does she look like?
A mess.
Broken.
Broken? Yes. So she has on an evening gown, right?
Like a Havisham.
Yeah, I think I'm Miss Havisham.
She's wearing like a white satin dress with like silver.
Like she wants to be a princess.
Alright, so Luke,
Yeah,
think about that for a second, let's tie it in. So a lot of little girls, not all, they like to think that it's all of us, but it's not all of us, like to play dress up, right? And it starts with princess stuff, and it ties very much into a wedding dress later, really, like they get us from the very beginning and teach us early. How many of you dressed up or loved princess stuff when you were little? Alright. So, when you dress up as a princess, what do you put on? Part of
The prettiest dress that you
the prettiest dress you have. It would look like an evening dress for a ball, like Cinderella, right? Okay. You gotta put on your heels. So most of us, they were plastic, but
Yeah.
okay, you gotta put on your heels.
lipstick.
You need the makeup, get the hair done. It looks like a hot mess like Blanche, but okay. And you gotta have the crown, gotta have the tiara. So she's a broken down princess here. And I really look at her as a broken down Cinderella. If you look at your Disney princesses, or any really princess from stories for that matter, what are they always waiting for? Their prince on their white horse to take them away and make their life perfect. The kindness. No, I don't think so. Oh, but like the kindness of the stranger being the prince, right? If you think of like Shrek, do you guys ever watch Shrek?
Yeah.
How pissed Princess Fiona is when Shrek, like, you're not supposed, wait a minute, like my prince is supposed to show up, like you just messed the whole thing up, right? But Blanche is very much living this illusion that a man is gonna come around on his white horse, that's probably his money, but his white horse and save her, Shep, right, from herself. In this scene, what does this show us? That her dress is crumpled, it's soiled, the silver slippers are scuffed.
That's a
Oh,
That like
Past?
the fantasy
Is that the
not-
Miss Havisham part that you connected to?
I had a question. So did Stella and Eunice kind of like catfish Blanche and like send her like fake letters from this guy, or did no letters ever actually come?
No letters came.
Okay, that's what I thought.
real?
Shep is probably real.
She probably met him like once.
Yeah.
But like he probably doesn't even know her name, right? Yeah, so like letters are all an illusion for her. So I think that false veneer of innocence is really highlighted in her clothing, that although she's like waiting for that Prince Charming to come and save her, there's this sense that it's never gonna happen, right? And that she's been waiting a whole long time. But that's the desire, that's the streetcar she's on. It is that a man is gonna come and save her from herself, right? Yeah.
I sort of saw that like false thing when it said that the tiara was rhinestone, and then Stanley like asked her like, oh, like look at you with your like diamond tiara, and she's like, oh, it's just rhinestone.
Yeah.
Like it's false. Like it's
It's
not.
all a veneer, it's all false, it's not a reality, right? But she's been playing the illusion, and what's Stanley wearing?
His
Red.
Green, oh,
His
red.
red silk pajamas
Which
that
he
he
wore
wore on
at
his
the
wedding
wedding.
night. And so you see the illusion coming up against reality, right? And I think somebody had said in your group, I think David, you said it, that Blanche can only end the fantasy by being forced to face reality, and that's Stanley. And I know it was hard for you guys as you're talking, because you guys kept saying like, it's never okay to rape someone. You know how like we're trying to like walk around it and
I,
Yeah, but that
I really
no
just wanted to.
offense,
I just really wanted to
Right?
say. I just
No,
feel
I
like
totally
really
get
think
it.
she
I think
should have
that's
gotten
I think that's a good thing. We have to remember that when this was written, women who dressed provocatively or slept with a variety of men,
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say
assumption
that,
was
like they wanted it. Like,
that they wanted it. We don't look at it that way, but Tennessee Williams would have. And he would have clearly saw that Blanche kind of put herself in this position. We don't say that today. but he would be saying that as the author. And so I think it's okay to say, in this time period, very likely what Williams is trying to say is, and then you don't have to feel so uncomfortable about it because we look at it differently. Let's talk quickly about tragic hero. In order to be a tragic hero, it's very specific guidelines. It's not a hero in the way that we think of it today, like Superman comes and saves the day and wears really tight tights or anything, right? Just underwear over his tights. Like, that's not what a hero is. A tragic hero has to fit a few criteria. One, it has to be a relatively good person. They're not evil. They start out a relatively decent human being. Two, they tend to be from the upper class. Is she okay so far?
Mhm.
Okay. Born into the upper class. So
Why
that's
the
two.
upper class part? Is it just criteria?
Well, the reason for this
Like a fall
is
from grace.
it's the fall from grace. So this
Oh, okay.
started back in like when we looked at Oedipus and stuff, so like the Greek tragedies.
Mhm.
And so when people are watching, it's important for them to see that somebody way up here who's also a good person can fall just like us.
Mm.
So it kind of teaches us a lesson. So she has those two qualities. The third quality you need to have to be a tragic hero is you have to have a flaw that leads to your destruction. And the fourth one is that you have to die, mentally or physically. That's it.
Oh, she got that.
She's got it, right?
She got
Those
that
are
that
the-
down.
Check,
All
check,
the
check,
time.
and check.
So those are the four qualities that you have to have. So what we want to really think about for her, the only one that's relatively vague, she doesn't physically die, but certainly she does mentally, is what is the flaw? What is the flaw that leads
Yeah, like
her
when you
to
said that, I
her
heard like
enemy?
3 different things.
Right? And that might be something we still need to consider, but I want you to consider that. In order for her to be that tragic hero, it has to be a specific, one specific flaw that can encapsulate everything, right?
Would you say there's like one answer to that? I feel like
I think there
you can
is, and
interpret.
I think that what she's wearing in that rape scene gives us almost everything. I think it really encapsulates like who she is. Now, another thing I wanted just to mention is that Faith, you had said, well, I want to say something else first. Hold on. Devin, maybe I can do Faith first. So Faith, you had talked about this idea of like desire and cemetery and then Elysian fields. And then Devin, you had kind of talked about that false paradise. And I thought that was two really important points that you guys don't want to lose. So we have to think about what is it that she desired, which would be her flaw, right? How it led her to cemeteries, that's either physical or mental death, right? So in what way does she die? And in what way does she find salvation? And one of the things, Devin, that you said is that at the end, this false paradise is attained because the men, she talks about how she has always relied on the kindness of strangers. You said specifically that the doctor, the type of man she was always searching for was tender and kind. And that is what she found in the doctor. And she can escape into that illusion and that paradise where a man does save her. And when the man saves her, even though Stella's calling her, she doesn't need to look back anymore. Because what she's always been looking for is what? The man to save her. So too does Stella. Because in that last scene, Stella is standing there, and we'll talk about that in the next section, right? I'm not
And
gonna
how
do
Stanley
that.
comes over.
Right? Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So, but I think it's really important, I feel like Devin and Faith, when you guys were talking about that, you got to something very specific in Blanche, and that in the end, you had said also, Pedro, that she doesn't let go of the fantasy or the illusion, she actually falls deeper into it, and I think that's 100% true. But she finds her Elysian fields in the end. Not what we would consider, but she finds hers, right? It's false, but for most of us it is. Most happiness is an illusion.
Shit.
Sorry, right?
I also wanted to point out the fact that, so she was wearing the soiled, crumpled white satin, and how earlier when she spilled Coke on it, she was able to not get it to stain.
And so worried, and it didn't stain, and now
she has
it's,
something that is stained and soiled.
it is. And it's the princess, right? So I think that's really important. One more thing I just wrote down is, I think it's important that when Stanley tears off the paper lantern, that she cries out, like she can't bear to
Like it's a
he
part of
throws
her.
the lantern at her.
Yeah, I think it even said it, the thing, like as if it were a part of her.
As if
Yeah,
it were
that's what
part
it
of
says
her,
in the
and
little
she's
stage notes.
disgusted and like horrified by it, and I think
I want
that's
to talk about that, but I
important.
thought that was the second group's topic, but it's okay.
That kind
We
of ties
can
in
go-
with the theme.
Yeah, well, we can go back to it, that's okay. Alright, pretty good, can we switch?